Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about minigames. From fishing in Ocarina of Time to playing Texas Hold'em and Red Dead Redemption, minigames have been a part of video games for decades. They're kind of traditional at this point. And those little games within games can sometimes serve a variety of different purposes, from killing time during a loading screen to getting bonus items or just providing a little break from the game's main quest. There's no question that as games have gotten more sophisticated, so too have their mini-games. Some games, like LEGO Dimensions, now even have fully playable arcade game museums tucked away inside. And some long-running franchises like Wolfenstein even hide copies of the original game within a current release. It's a kind of a cool way to remind gamers of where they come from. Other mini-games have even gotten so popular that they've become full-fledged releases of their own, which is cool, but we still maintain that Tekken Bowling should be its own game. Over the years, the mini-games have evolved from hidden distractions to increasingly sophisticated Easter eggs. So join us as we look back at some of the early mini-games all the way through the modern era. Now, to keep things relatively wieldy, let's start with a few mini-games back in the 8-bit era of video games. Now, one of the most famous examples of hidden mini-games came in the very first Final Fantasy game, which was released back in 1987 in Japan. This epic adventure also hid a secret mini-game that was only unlockable once you obtained the ship, then held the A button and pushed the B button several times. Finally, a 15 puzzle game unlocked. The minigame would require you to slide a series of numbered tiles until they were in the proper numeric order. The game didn't really have anything to do with Final Fantasy, but if you won, you got 100 gil, so that's something. This was hardly the last Final Fantasy to use minigames though, as the franchise would become well known for its use of them. Anyone who's played Final Fantasy X is very familiar with things like Blitz Ball. Meanwhile, around the same time, Alex Kidd in Miracle World over on the Sega Master System had a minigame of its own, in which you played rock, paper, scissors to defeat bosses, which honestly is the best way ever to resolve conflict. I would lose every single time. Another early minigame was found in Dragon Quest III, which included a monster arena where you could bet money on monster battles. If you won, you received casino tokens, which you could then exchange for weapons, armor, and other items. The monster arena became a recurring feature in several other Dragon Quest games. Jumping ahead to the Super Nintendo era, there was Coffee Break, a minigame inside Mario Paint where you swatted flies. It didn't have anything to do with painting, but you did get to face off against a giant boss fly in the end, so there's that. Another well-known minigame was found in Street Fighter II. It gave your characters a limited time to smash up a car or falling barrels for extra points. And of course, another 16-bit game, Chrono Trigger, was legendary for its minigames. The Millennial Fair at the beginning of the game had a plethora of little distractions. There was a drinking game with soda, not booze, a memory game, and even one where you fought a giant robot. And later in Chrono Trigger, you could race jet bikes for prizes like ethers and tonics. As video games matured, minigames started to fall into several different categories. Gambling is a recurring theme in lots of minigames, going back to the early days of Pokemon, which included a slot machine which you could play for prizes in red, blue, and yellow. Gambling can also be seen in, well, a bunch of modern games as well, with minigames like Liar's Dice in Red Dead Redemption, and Roulette and Blackjack in Fallout New Vegas. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas even had a full working casino. Yes, after saving the world, the second favorite hobby of video game heroes is apparently blowing their money. Another huge genre of minigames is card games. An early example of this was Triple Triad in Final Fantasy VIII back in 1999. More recently, there's Gwent in The Witcher 3, Texas Hold'em in Red Dead Redemption. You could even play strip poker in Dead Rising 2, because why wouldn't you? None of these were necessary to the game, but they were a lot of fun. They add to it. They give you time to take a little bit of a break while still playing. Fishing is another minigame that's found all over the place, not just in modern games like Final Fantasy XV. Zelda Ocarina of Time had a super fun fishing minigame where if you caught the biggest fish possible, you could earn a piece of heart. Handy! Also, one of the best parts of Animal Crossing, just putting that out there. Minigames have even become a game genre of their own. There are now games like WarioWare that are nothing but collections of minigames, or in the case of WarioWare, micro games, and surprisingly, they work really, really well. I love WarioWare. Other minigames have gotten so popular that they eventually became standalone games of their own. Geometry Wars, which was originally found in Project Gotham Racing 2, was so well liked that it became its own franchise. And boy, that one's a killer. Its sequel was even the top downloaded game on Xbox Live, for a while at least. Gwent from The Witcher 3 is also being developed as a standalone game. Now there's even a triple triad game now available on smartphones. Minigames, this is your time. Now, one of the most well-known minigames of all time was, well, there's actually several minigames. They're found in the first Animal Crossing game, you know, the game with all the fishing, where your character could get their own Nintendo console and play emulated versions of some NES classics. It's meta as hell and lots of fun. Maybe the weirdest minigame of all time, though, is the inclusion of the 1979 computer game Zork in Call of Duty Black Ops. It seems like a weird match, but it worked out. All you had to do was type Zork into the game's computer terminal and boom, you can enjoy some 70s text-based goodness. And while some minigames are universally beloved, like Chocobo Racing in Final Fantasy, although I had such a hard time with it when I was trying to get all the ultimate weapons made in Final Fantasy X that I have an eternal grudge against Chocobos, others have, well, been maybe not so popular. One of the most notorious examples of this was Blitz Ball in Final Fantasy X, which I loved. Most people got over it really, really quickly. It was basically underwater basketball / soccer. While it was technically skippable if you wanted to get Wakka's ultimate weapon, you were forced to play way too much of this game. It was admittedly tedious. It was unfun for a lot of people. Also, lots of people hated the hacking in Mass Effect 2, and not to mention planet scanning. Can we count that as a minigame? We're gonna count it, and it was terrible. And the Speechcraft game in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Oh, and of course the gummy ship sections in Kingdom Hearts, which can rot in hell. Moving on. Modern games with their giant file sizes have gone all out with minigames. Grand Theft Auto 5 lets you golf with friends. Fallout 4 offers several monochromatic games on your Pip-Boy device. Uncharted 4 even worked a Crash Bandicoot minigame into its main plot, which also served as a nice tip of the hat to developer Naughty Dog's history. Now, what are your favorite minigames of all time? Let us know in the comments, and for all your video game news with or without minigames, make sure you like this video. If you're new to this channel, subscribe to the know. Hey, welcome to Glitch Please, the new video game podcast that we're putting out. It's premiering on YouTube June 3rd, or if you're a Rooster Teeth First member, and you can get a free trial, a 1-month trial for that if you want to try it out, you can get this podcast as early as June 2nd on our website.
That's a day earlier.
Whole day.
And that's really soon.